The night sky over Konoha shimmered with an eerie glow, the full moon hanging heavy and unnaturally bright, as if watching the village below with silent intent. Naruto Uzumaki stood atop the Hokage monument, his cerulean eyes narrowed in suspicion. Something was off, not just with the moon, but with the chakra he sensed pulsing from it. It was faint, distant, but undeniably hostile. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha crossed his arms, his rinnegan flickering as he too sensed the disturbance. "You feel it too, don't you?" Naruto muttered, his voice low but edged with urgency. Sasuke gave a curt nod. "That's not just the moon. There's a fight happening up there, one we weren't invited to." Naruto clenched his fists, his mind racing. Years of peace had lulled the world into complacency, but his instincts screamed that this was no natural phenomenon. The last time the moon had been a threat, Kaguya had nearly destroyed everything. He wouldn't let history repeat itself. "We're going up there," he declared, his tone leaving no room for argument. Sasuke smirked. "Took you long enough to say it." With a burst of chakra, Naruto's body flared with the golden aura of Kurama's Nine Tails chakra mode, his whisker marks darkening as raw power surged through him. Sasuke's rinnegan spun, his Susanoo skeletal frame materializing around him in a crackle of violet energy. They shot into the sky, leaving a sonic boom in their wake, the village shrinking beneath them as they pierced the atmosphere. The cold vacuum of space meant nothing to them. Naruto's chakra cloak protected him, while Sasuke's mastery over space-time ninjutsu ensured they wouldn't suffocate. As they breached the lunar surface, the barren landscape erupted into chaos. Two factions clashed beneath the pale glow of earth hanging in the sky, one side armored in sleek, silver-plated suits, their weapons firing beams of condensed chakra, the other clad in tattered cloaks, their eyes glowing with the telltale crimson of Sharingan. "Uchiha?" Sasuke hissed, his grip tightening on his sword. But these weren't his kin, their chakra felt ancient, distorted. Naruto's stomach dropped. "This isn't just a war. It's a massacre." A silver-armored warrior lunged at them, his blade humming with energy. Naruto reacted instantly, forming a Rasengan in his palm and slamming it into the attacker's chest. The man skidded back, his armor cracking but not breaking. "Tough," Naruto grunted. Sasuke blurred forward, his sword clashing against another enemy's energy whip. The force of their collision sent shockwaves through the dust, kicking up plumes of gray powder. Then, from the heart of the battlefield, a towering figure emerged, a man clad in a tattered Uchiha cloak, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning wildly. "You don't belong here," he snarled, his voice echoing like a ghost's whisper. Sasuke's eyes widened. "An ancestor?" The man didn't answer. Instead, he raised a hand, and the very moon's surface trembled. Jagged pillars of rock erupted beneath Naruto, forcing him to flip backward, his chakra tails lashing out to deflect the assault. Sasuke activated his perfect Susanoo, the colossal warrior swinging its blade in a devastating arc. The Uchiha ancestor dodged, his body dissolving into shadows before reappearing behind Sasuke. "Pathetic," the man spat, driving a fist coated in black flames into Sasuke's ribs. The impact sent him crashing into a crater, his Susanoo flickering. Naruto roared, his body surging with Six Paths Sage mode as he charged, his fist clad in a swirling vortex of wind and fire. The ancestor barely raised a hand, a barrier of dark chakra halting Naruto's strike midair. "You're strong," the man admitted, "but this war is beyond you." Naruto gritted his teeth. "We'll see about that." The battle for the moon had begun, and they were just getting started. The air on the moon was thin, the eerie silence broken only by the clash of chakra-infused strikes as Naruto Uzumaki skidded across the lunar surface, his golden cloak flickering. Before him stood a battalion of unknown warriors, their armor gleaming under the pale light of earth hanging in the sky. They moved with precision, their attacks coordinated. This was no random skirmish. This was war. Naruto's fists clenched, his Rasengan spiraling to life as he lunged, the ground cracking beneath his speed. The enemy leader, a towering figure wielding a crescent blade, met him mid-air. Steel met chakra in a shockwave that sent debris flying. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling the strain in his muscles. These weren't just any fighters. They were adapting, learning his patterns. He needed to push further. Sasuke's Sharingan flared as he weaved through a swarm of attackers, his sword a blur. He pivoted, slashing through one opponent, only for another to replace them instantly. "They're not human," he muttered, noticing the lack of fatigue in their movements. His rinnegan pulsed, and with a swift hand sign, he unleashed Amaterasu. Black flames erupted, but the warriors dodged with unnatural agility. One grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. Sasuke smirked. Finally, a challenge. Nearby, Sakura's fists shattered the ground as she pulverized an enemy's shield, her healing chakra already mending her split knuckles. "They're tough," she called to Kakashi, who was analyzing the battlefield with sharp eyes. "But they're not invincible." Kakashi's hands blurred, weaving signs faster than sight. Lightning blade. A streak of blue pierced through 3 foes, but more surged forward. He panted, this wasn't sustainable. Naruto felt Kurama's growl in his mind. "They're draining us. We need to end this now." With a roar, Naruto's chakra exploded, his form shifting into the full might of Kurama's avatar. The colossal fox swiped, sending enemies flying, but the leader stood firm, his blade elongating into a whip of crackling energy. It lashed out, slicing through Kurama's arm. Naruto hissed but didn't falter. He formed a massive Rasen Shuriken, hurling it with a cry. The explosion lit up the battlefield, but when the dust cleared, the leader emerged, his armor barely scuffed. Sasuke teleported beside Naruto, his Susanoo forming around them. "They're using some kind of energy absorption," he said, eyeing the enemy's glowing weapons. Naruto nodded. "Then we hit them with more than they can handle." Their chakras intertwined, a fusion of indigo and gold, and the combined might of their avatars unleashed a devastating shockwave. The lunar surface quaked, fissures spiderwebbing outward. The enemy leader staggered but then laughed, his voice distorted. "You fight well. For mortals." His body began to morph, his armor melting into his skin as wings of pure energy unfurled. The air itself vibrated with his power. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a glance. This was it. The final push. Sakura and Kakashi regrouped, their breaths heavy but resolve unbroken. "We need to buy them time," Kakashi said, his Sharingan spinning. Sakura cracked her neck. "Then let's make it count." She channeled every ounce of her strength into her fist, the ground trembling as she shot forward like a comet. Kakashi followed, his lightning blade aimed true. The battle reached its zenith, a storm of light and fury under the cold gaze of the stars. Naruto and Sasuke, battered but unyielding, faced the transformed leader. This was no longer just a fight, it was a testament to their will. And as their final attack collided with the enemies, the moon itself seemed to hold its breath. The explosion that followed would decide everything. The air on the moon's barren surface crackled with tension as Naruto Uzumaki stood at the precipice of the final battle, his breath ragged, his orange jacket torn from countless clashes. The Otsutsuki clan's war machine loomed before him, a monstrous construct of chakra and ancient technology, its core pulsing with enough energy to shatter the moon itself. Behind him, Sasuke's Sharingan blazed crimson, his Rinnegan spinning as he analyzed their enemies' weak points, while Boruto's Karma seal flickered dangerously, the power of an alien god threatening to consume him. This was it, the moment that would decide everything. Naruto's fists clenched, his resolve hardening. "We end this now," he roared, surging forward in a burst of golden chakra, his 9 tails cloak flaring like a sun. The Otsutsuki leader, a towering figure with eyes colder than the void, smirked and raised a hand, summoning a storm of black rods that shot toward them like meteors. Sasuke blurred into motion, his sword deflecting them in a whirlwind of steel, sparks flying as metal met chakra-infused projectiles. Boruto leapt high, his Rasengan swirling with lightning, and slammed it into the enemy's barrier, only for it to shatter like glass against an unyielding wall. The backlash sent him skidding backward, his body screaming in protest. "You're outmatched," the Otsutsuki leader intoned, his voice echoing like a death knell. He thrust his palm forward, and a wave of crushing gravity flattened the battlefield, forcing Naruto to his knees. Bones creaked, dust compacted into craters, and for a terrifying second, it felt like the end. But then, Naruto grinned through the pain. "Like hell we are." With a surge of defiance, his chakra exploded outward, the ground fracturing beneath him as he pushed back against the force. Sasuke's Rinnegan flared, and in an instant, he swapped places with Boruto, who appeared behind the enemy, his Jugen activating, a piercing blue light that revealed the hidden threads of fate. "Now, Dad," Boruto shouted. Naruto didn't hesitate. He channeled every ounce of his remaining strength into a single, colossal Rasen Shuriken, its spiraling edges distorting the very air. Sasuke, his Susanoo forming around him like a violet phantom, unleashed a devastating Amaterasu blast, the black flames merging with Naruto's attack. The combined force streaked toward the Otsutsuki leader, who finally, flinched. The impact was cataclysmic, a detonation of light and sound that swallowed the battlefield whole. When the dust cleared, the enemy knelt, his form flickering, his once indomitable presence crumbling. "Impossible," he whispered. But Naruto wasn't done. He staggered forward, his body battered but his spirit unbroken, and placed a hand on the Otsutsuki's chest. This war ends today. No more secrets. No more sacrifices. With a final push, he purged the lingering malice from the clan's heart, not with destruction, but with understanding, the same empathy that had saved so many before. The aftermath was quiet, the moon's surface scarred but no longer a battleground. As the sun rose over the horizon, Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the sky, Boruto collapsed, his karma seal fading. Sasuke caught him, his usual stoicism softened by relief. Naruto knelt beside them, his voice thick with pride. "You did good, kid." Back on Earth, the world would never know how close they came to annihilation. But the shinobi who fought there would carry the truth, and the lessons, forward. The Otsutsuki threat was over, but the bonds forged in battle were unbreakable. And as Naruto looked toward the future, he knew one thing for certain: no matter what came next, they'd face it together.